In this video, I'm going to show you how to create an augmented reality application using Vuforia and image targets. So I'm inside of Unity, and if I play this, it's going to use my camera on my laptop. And you can see when I hold up this magazine, it's putting video on the cover as well as images and a 3D character that's dancing. So this is a Roaring Twenties magazine that I am augmenting with these different types of media. So what we want to do is bring these different assets into Unity, which we are going to create with Photoshop and Fuse and Mixamo. I've done some of this in other videos, so you should look at those videos if you don't know how to use Fuse and Mixamo. We're going to start with that, and I'll go ahead and bring that up now. So if I bring up Fuse, I've created this simple character here from the stock characters in Fuse. I've customized his clothes to make him look like a 1920s swing dancer, and I sent it to Mixamo just using this button up here. So I'm inside of Adobe Mixamo, which is different than the Steam Mixamo that I showed in the other video. A lot of it's the same, but the difference is that in the Adobe version, you have this Send to Mixamo button, which if I click this, it just automatically brings it over to Mixamo. I don't even have to rig it. Inside of Mixamo, it just comes up already rigged and ready to go once it does all the processing. And you can download it in the same way that I did in the other video. So if you look here, there is an FBX, which we used for going to Maya. But if I'm going directly to Unity, I want to use FBX for Unity. And I'm going to download the T-pose just like I did in Maya. And that's going to have the skin as well. So it's going to be probably about a 15 megabyte file. I've already downloaded this character. There's also animations that you could put on it. If I do a search on Charleston, it brings up swing dancing clips, and I can grab one of these clips to bring into Unity as well. Now, when I do download here, I'm not going to use the skin because I don't need the skin if I'm using the T-pose character, which has the skin. So all I need is the animation, so I'm going to use without skin. I'm also going to use FBX for Unity. And I usually set this to 24 frames per second. You can use up to 60 frames per second for a video game character, but I find 24 looks fine. It's film quality, and I often just default to that. And then you download it. So I've already downloaded those two clips, and I have them inside of where all my assets are. So here's the file that is an FBX file for Unity, and that one has the T-pose in it, and this one is the one that has the actual swing dancing animation in it with no skin. The rest of these files I need as well. I have a video file. It's an old video of Charleston dancers, black and white video, and I've got the different files that I need as image targets, and I have a script which I'll talk about later for controlling the video. Now, if I go into Photoshop, or actually, we're going to be taking all these to Vuforia in order to use them inside of Unity. And I'll cover this in a minute. Going to Photoshop, this is the magazine cover that I'm using. So I just scanned it in, and I decided that I wanted to use it in two different image targets. So this bottom image here, which you can see right here, I just copied and pasted it into a new file and saved it as a JPEG. And this image is a pretty good image. It's got a lot of contrast between the lights and the darks, and it's got some writing down here in the lower left. So it actually did produce a good image target. The other part of this magazine cover didn't produce as good an image target when I brought it into Vuforia. I tried to do these individual pictures up here, and they just didn't have enough contrast or enough lines in them to produce good image targets. So instead, I decided to do the entire top portion of this cover, including the title. And that adds a lot of good contrast and lines that create a good image target. And that's essentially what I ended up with, saving that out as a JPEG as well. And then I decided to go ahead and do some compositing, go find some other old pictures that I could composite into this cover so that I can switch out that top part of the magazine. So again, this is just selecting things and copying and pasting using some masks inside of Photoshop to composite something that I can switch out from this image to this image. So this is the image target, and this is what's going to replace it inside of Unity. And then this other one, the bottom one, I'm going to replace with video. So those images, save them out as JPEGs, and then you're going to upload those to Vuforia. So you need to go to the developer portion of the Vuforia website, and initially you're going to need to create a login. It's free. You just go ahead and create an account. And once you have an account and you log in, you're going to get, and you go to the develop area, and it should say developer.vuforia.com at the top. You're going to get two tabs, a license manager and a target manager. And you initially want to create a license. So that's just this get development key. It's free to do developing in Vuforia. If you're going to deploy it for a commercial application, then you have to buy the development key. But initially, you can develop with it just for free. And so you can see that I have some down here already. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. And you just have to give it a name. I'm going to call this one magazine demo. I'll just put video on that as well. And I can see that it's not going to charge me anything. I'm going to have a certain amount of usages I can do. And I'll go ahead and check the box to acknowledge the terms and conditions. And then I'll confirm it. And then you can see that I have that in my list. And if I go into that, what's going to happen is it's going to generate a password for this development key. It's not really a password. It's just a long string of characters. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that to copy it. You can see it's copied to my clipboard. And then we'll go back to the previous page and go to the Target Manager. Now in the Target Manager, I'm going to want to create a new database for that new project, for that development key. And you can see I have quite a few here already. I even have one called Magazine Demo Video. You just add a database and give it a name, and it's going to come up. And this one that I made here, Magazine Demo Video, that's the one I'm going to use for these targets. You can see they don't have any targets in them right now. So I'm going to click into that, and I'm going to add some targets. And it's important that you know a couple of things when you're adding image targets. First of all, we're going to do single images. That's mostly what you're going to do with Vuforia. You can use 3D objects too, but for this project, for this demo, I'm going to just be using single images. And I need to go find the file. And I have that file here, and what I need is the bottom, the magazine bottom image, and I need to tell it a width. So it says here that it uses meters, and so if I want to know the exact size of it, then I can go into Photoshop, and I can look under image size, and I can see what that is. It doesn't actually give me meters, but it gives me millimeters and centimeters. So I could then see what it is that's being set to in either centimeters or millimeters. Now, if I set this, you can do online conversions, but it's really just decimal points which move when you convert it over. So in this case, you just move this. If it's centimeters, you'd move it 2 decimals over to the left if you want to make it into meters. And we're only concerned with the width of the image. So that would be actually 0.1991. So even though it says that it's used in meters, when you bring that in to Unity, that's going to be really small. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to move it 1 decimal over and make it 1.991. And that's going to be a good size inside of Unity. I just need to know this number, so I would write it down, but I'm going to use 1.991. And if I go back over and plug that in, 1.991, then that will be my width. And the name just came in from the name of the file, which is fine. I'm going to add that into it. And then I'll go ahead and add another one. So again, it's going to be a single image. I'll browse over and grab the top part that I want to replace with another image. I'll open that up. These images do need to be less than 2 megabytes. So you have to scale them down a little bit when you're saving them out of Photoshop. And this one, if I go back to Photoshop and look at it in the size, the width of it, if I go to, say, centimeters again, is actually the same. So 1.991 is also exact same number. And that makes sense since it's a magazine cover. So I'll go back over 1.991 and add it. So once it processes these, you can check and see what the rating is. 5 stars is what you would like to have for a good image target. 4 stars would be okay. If you go less than 4 stars, it's probably going to have a hard time recognizing it. So it's using image recognition software. If I click on this one that it already processed, then I can actually rather than click on it, go into it. And towards the bottom here, there's a show features. And if you click on that, you'll see the features that it's using to do the image recognition. You can see that there are a lot of little yellow X's here. That's what you want. You want a lot of features. Now, if I go back to the previous page, that one's processed. And I'll go into that and we'll take a look at where the features are in that as well. And you can see that there's not that much features in these images here, which is why when I try to create image targets out of just these individual faces here, they didn't work very well. They were like 2 or 3 stars. It's getting a lot more features with the text. So if you can add some text and stuff into your image targets, especially if they're a little blurry like these ones are, they're old photographs, then it's going to increase your recognition and you're going to get a higher number of stars. So both these ones are very good. And that's all I need. I need to download this database in order to have these to bring into Unity. So I'll go ahead and click Download Database. I'm going to use the Unity editor and we'll click Download. So it's downloading those as a Unity package that we can easily import into Unity. And so I'm going to go and go to my downloads folder and refresh it. And you can see the package there. Let's go ahead and copy that. And we'll bring it over to the other place where we have all our assets. And we'll go ahead and paste that in there. And it's called Magazine Demo Video, and it's a Unity package file. So now what I need to do is we're going to go ahead and close this one that we have in Unity here so we can start a fresh file. And so I'm going to go to the new area here of my hub, and we're going to use 2019.2.11 F1. That's the version of Unity I'm using. There are new versions, but this is what we're using in the lab. So if you're working at home and you want to be able to bring your files into the lab, you need to use the same version. I'm going to create a 3D project. Magazine demo video. And it's going to the desktop. That's the easiest place. I mean, you can choose any place you want to make your files. It's going to make a project folder with a series of files in it, just like Maya does, only it's even more complicated than Maya. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in a Unity project. So just make it in a place where it's easy to find and where you'll know where that project file is. Because you need to be able to get to the assets folder there. Okay, now that it's done processing, we have a new fresh Unity file. The first thing I'm going to do is I need to turn on Vuforia inside of here. If you go to your, and by the way, I'm using the 2x3 layout. If you're in default layout, it's going to look different and it might be hard to follow me. if you're not in the same layout as me. So I would switch to 2x3 under Window, Layouts, and it will look like this. This is your 3D view that you can move around with the Alt key. This is your game view, which you're going to actually then see the augmented reality in when you play the game up here with the play button. I would put maximize on play on that game view so that it becomes full screen whenever you hit the play button. You have all your hierarchy stuff that's going to be in your scene over here. We've got a main camera and a directional light right now. And we have a project area that's going to show us all the different things that Unity created when it created the project file. It's got some packages and some folders already in there. And then we have a view for what's inside of those folders, as well as an inspector on the right to look at our components. If I select different objects, they're going to show up on the right-hand side here. So I want to make it so that Vuforia is going to work in here and make sure that it's loaded. And if I go to the Create menu under the hierarchy, I can see there is no Vuforia section under here. So that means it's not loaded, and so I need to load it up. And so I'm going to go to the File menu and Build Settings. Build Settings is going to be used whenever you're building your game, but also there's a player settings in the lower left of there. You click on that button, and it's going to show you your different settings for the game, and I want the player section, so make sure you click on that and it should look like this. And I want to turn on Vuforia Augmented Reality in this first tab here. So this is for PC, Mac, and Linux standalone. I'm going to go ahead and turn that on, and it's going to load up all of the Vuforia packages that need to be in there in order to do the augmented reality. This might take a few seconds, but once it's done, we should see Vuforia in our menus. Okay, so it's done, and you can see that it's got the checkbox here. If I click on iOS, it has the checkbox there as well as on Android. I'm going to go ahead and close this window up in the upper right with the close button. And then I'm going to also close my build settings window. Now if I go to the Create menu under Hierarchy, I now see that there's a Vuforia Engine area drop-down menu, and I can click on different things in here. The first thing I want to turn on or create is an AR camera. You need an AR camera in order to be able to do the augmented reality. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and create that AR camera. Now once I have an AR camera, I do want it to come up in its default position of 0 in the center of my world. And so check that on your transforms. You don't need the main camera anymore, so go ahead and select that and hit delete on your keyboard to get rid of it. If you accidentally, I see. So my AR camera, I actually had my main camera selected when I created the AR camera, so it made it child to the main camera. And when I deleted the main camera, it actually deleted the AR camera too. Now, if that happens, just drag this AR camera out into some empty area down here in your hierarchy, and it will unparent it from the main camera. So if you have anything selected and you create something, it will make it child to that thing, and you don't want that with your AR camera. So go ahead and click on main camera and hit delete. So now I have an AR camera. I can see its components over in the inspector, and I'm going to go ahead and go down a little ways, and I want to find where it says Vuforia behavior. device, and open Vuforia engine configuration. This button here, Open Vuforia Engine Configuration, will take you to where you need to put your license in. And that's what I created over inside of the license area, the license manager in the Vuforia developer. So when we went into the magazine demo video and clicked on it, that copied that to the clipboard, and back inside of Unity, I can then paste that in. Don't click Add License button. That's just going to take you to the website. All you got to do is paste it. And then what I need to do, you'll see that there's no databases found right now. So in order to have some databases come up, you need to import the database that I created under the target manager and download it. So I created the magazine demo video database and I downloaded it, and it is a package. So inside of Unity, you're going to go to Assets, Import Package, Custom Package. And then you need to go find your magazine demo assets wherever you place those. So I put that package inside of my course folder, magazine AR demo, and here it is. This is the package that I want. It's a Unity package file called magazine demo video. I'll go ahead and open that. And when you open it, you're going to see that it has the images in it. They're going to come up under Editor, and go ahead and import everything. Make sure everything's checked. It should be by default, and just import it. And you can see now I have an Editor folder. Inside of that's a Vuforia folder, an Images folder. You can open that up over here under your project area. And if I click on, excuse me, if I click on Magazine, you'll see that the two images are there. If I click on Magazine, after opening up the Assets area, you'll see that the two images that you downloaded in the package are there. And also, if you now go back to your hierarchy, and we're going to create, under Vuforia Engine, a new image target. Just choose Image. Now, once you download and import the package for the image targets, it will automatically find it. And so you can see that under, when I create this image target here, if I double click it, it'll zoom in on it, and I can use my Alt key to orbit around. And you can see it automatically loaded up the top of the magazine, and it loaded the database magazine demo video. I can see that under my inspector image target behavior script. Now I can choose any one I want here. I'll go ahead and do this one first because this is the simplest one. I want to replace this image target with another image. So first make sure it's loaded up, and you can click on the image target button and you can load whichever ones you want. If it's not the one you want, you can switch it. And then once it's loaded up, I'm going to go ahead and bring in the image that I want to replace this with. So to begin with, go find the image somewhere and import it in. Usually the way I like to bring things into Unity is to just copy them into my project. So if this is my folder that has all of my images and resources in it, and I created a new project on my desktop called Magazine Demo Video, and inside of that, this is my project folder, and inside of that project folder is a series of folders. You don't want to mess with most of these because they're necessary for Unity to work. But there's an assets folder that you want to put any assets, media assets that you want to come into your project inside of this assets folder. So if you go into that assets folder, this is what's inside of Unity right here. So if I want to add my own assets, I could put them right in the assets folder, or I could create in the assets folder a new folder by going to the create menu and choosing folder. And I'll name that folder, let's call it magazine assets. So now I have a magazine's assets here, and if I go back to the folder that I had and refresh it, you'll see I have a magazine assets folder there too. So I could copy everything I want into this magazine assets folder, and it's going to automatically import it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to my folder that has all my assets, and I'm going to start copying and pasting them over to that other folder. Now I know that I want all of these, I want this video, I want my 3D FBX files that I brought down from Mixamo. I want all of these image targets, or most of these images. Especially, I need this one, the one that I want to replace with. So that's what I'm working on now. I'll go ahead and just copy that one for right now. And go back over to my other folder. And there's nothing in it, so I'll go ahead and paste it. And once I have that in that magazine assets folder, if I go click back into Unity, you'll see it import something by turning green down here. And if you look in your magazine assets folder, that image is now there. So it imported it, and you can click on it to check its import settings. Now I am going to use this as a texture map, and it is a default texture, so that is correct the way it's bringing it in. It's a 2D texture. And I don't really need to change anything about this. All of these settings are fine. So I want to place this in my scene, but I need to place it as a texture map on an object. So I'm going to create a new object under my hierarchy menu. That's where you create objects that are going to be in your scene. I'm going to go to 3D objects, and I want to create a plane. Now the plane is going to be kind of big because my image target is still pretty small. But I'm going to set this down to about 0.1 in X and 0.1 in Z, so that it's basically the correct size. And I'll go ahead and type in 0, 0, 0 for the position. So it's basically sitting right on top of my image target, which is also at 0, 0, 0 in 3D position. So XYZ, you have your world axis up here in the upper right corner. That's a really good way to orient yourself to see which way stuff is going. And if you want to look straight down on these objects, you can just click the little green part of that world axis, the Y, and it will look straight down on it in sort of a flat orthographic type of view. Now, if you can't see your plane that you're adjusting, then you might want to move it slightly up in Y. So if I type in 0.001 and hit enter, well, let's just try 0.1. I should be able to see it. If I still can't see it, okay, so it's negative 0.1. All right, so I put negative 0.001. It's basically still right on top of it, but I can see it now. And that's just so I can scale it. So if I, again, click the top axis so it's flat with it, what I'm seeing here is the light, the directional light. If you want to move that out of the way, you can with your move tool. Your WER will go through move, rotate, and scale. And I'm going to put the W on to get the move tool. It's also up here in the upper left corner. And you can drag that with the arrow out of the way. It doesn't matter where a directional light is placed. And then I'll go back to my plane. I do want to make that plane child to the image target. So I'm going to name this image target top or mag top. And actually, let's put image target on that too, so that we know it's an image target without really having to look at it closely. So it's mag top image target, and I'll make the plane, which is the mag top replace image. I'll make that child to that image target. So the way you make things child is go to your hierarchy, left mouse button, click the thing that you want to be the child, and drag it on top of the other object that you want to be the parent. And that's going to create the parent-child relationship where it's indented in, and you know it's child to it. And that means everything that's happening over here on its channels is happening in relation to that parent object. So your channel numbers are going to change. But mostly I'm concerned about how it looks over here. I need to scale it so it's the same size as this. So with it selected, I'll go ahead and hit the R key to go to the scaling manipulator, and I'll grab the boxes and scale it in X a little bit. I'm going to make it slightly larger than the original. Now, until I test this, I won't know exactly what's the best amount of scaling. Now, once I get it to the scale I like, I'm going to go ahead and click 0 back in the Y again, so it's sitting right on top of it. Now, actually, if I undo that for a second, in order to place the other image on here, I need to make a material for it. So I'm going to, with my magazine assets folder selected in the project area, I'm going to go to the create menu there, and I'm going to create a material. And I'll go ahead and name that mag top MAT for material and hit enter. And I want to take that image that is also in that same folder that I'm using as going to use as the texture map, and I'm going to drag it onto the empty area next to albedo. And you see that it shows it on the shader ball here on the material. Now then I'll go ahead and drag that material onto the 3D object. You can do it over here in your hierarchy menu, or you can do it actually on the 3D object itself. Now you can see that it's upside down compared to the original image. If I click on this little checkbox next to the name of this child object, the replacement image, you'll see that it's not oriented in the same way. So with this child object selected, I'll go ahead and rotate it 180 degrees in Y. Now they're both in the same direction. I should test it now. So make sure that this object is child to the image target, because that's how Vuforia recognizes it, that it's supposed to place that image where the image target was. And then go ahead and make sure that you have a camera either connected to your computer or on your computer, and maximize and play is on down here. I'll hit play, and I should be able to see this happening inside of my camera feed. So if I pull my magazine up, I see that it's replacing out the other image with this image. It disappears when I rotate it because it's losing tracking when it can't see the image anymore. Once it sees the image, it's going to replace it. You see it takes the lighting of my directional light. Now you see it's not quite scaled right. It needs to be a little taller. It needs to be a little bit moved up and to the left. So I'll go ahead and do that. So if I go back to this object, I am going to scale it a little taller. And I'm going to move it a little up and a little bit to the left. At this point, it might be good for me to just go ahead and put 0 in the Y so it's sitting right on top of there. If you move it a little bit, you might see a little moire pattern, which will allow you to see both images a little bit. So if I try it again, and this time I'm going to connect a external camera. If you connect an external camera, you go to your AR camera. It'll be using devices, but if you go to the Open Vuforia engine and go to the bottom of that, it'll tell you if your external camera is connected. I'm using a Logitech webcam. So it is. So when I hit play this time, it should be using my external camera, and I'm just going to point it at my magazine while it's sitting on the table. So I can see that placement's pretty good. I think it needs to go up a little bit more, and it maybe could be, yeah, it's about right. It's Maybe it could be a little wider. So let's go ahead and move it up a little bit more. And I'll scale it a little bit wider. Maybe move it to the left a little bit. Hit play again. There we go. So if your camera's trying to focus, it might actually not recognize the image until it gets focused. So it looks pretty good. I think I could move it a little bit higher. But the width looks pretty good. Maybe move it a little bit to the left. Now once you place this image and you're happy with the placement, then you want to do the next image. And for that I want to replace it with video. So I need to go back. I'm going to go ahead and save as, and we'll save a scene file into my assets folder. We'll call this magazine demo video.